Welcome back to the Nose Plays. I'm going to be playing Endless Space 2 tonight. This is probably just going to be a one-off. I'm just feeling like I haven't streamed in a while and I need to do that tonight. So if anybody's out there and would like to join me, feel free to jump in the chat. I have the chat window up. Say hello. But, yeah, it just feels like a good night to play some Endless Space.
Build a better world, then blow it up with science.
Not sure what faction I'm feeling tonight. Probably one I'm familiar with. My favorite faction by far is the Vaulter faction. I've also played a lot of United Empire and a fair amount of Horatio. I haven't played many of the other factions extensively. I think I'm going to go ahead and play Vaulters tonight. It's time for some comfort gaming. Six players, medium-sized map, serious difficulty. I usually don't play it much higher than that. Pirate difficulty on normal, mainly because they're really obnoxious if you set it any higher than that, and not in a way that makes the game fun. I do set minor civs to hard. We'll leave the rest of this as is. Gotta pick orange for the Vaulters. It's kind of their thing. And anything else I want to mess with? Number of constellations. Few. I've played with many before. It's actually quite interesting the way that it breaks up the map. With the Vaulters, that becomes a bit of a nerf because of the way that they settle with the Argosy. It forces them to get wormhole or interstellar space travel technology maybe faster than they need to otherwise. I think we'll leave it. I'm going to do my best this evening to really take my time and try to verbalize and explain every decision that I'm making. I'm not even 100% sure that this video is going to go up on my channel. So if you're lucky enough to watch this tonight, it could be a one and only. We'll just have to see how it goes. There are a few things that are better paired than Endless Space 2 and a nice
Is this the end of our voyage?
glass of whiskey.
We had such hopes at the beginning, though we left in sorrow
And Oppbot.
desperation. But while they slept through the explosion, I have stayed awake for centuries, doing what I could.
I ain't gonna lie, the very first time I saw this cutscene,
to save Zolia.
it kind of tugged at my heartstrings, moved me a little bit. This is really well done.
But our power, my power, is fading. I can do nothing more for my people, the Vaulters.
The music is really well done here. Alright, let's see what we got here. I don't need any of this. We'll figure it all out here in a minute. Okay, that's promising. So, first thing I like to do with the vaulters is zoom out. What is our constellation bonus? Industry. That's actually really good. Kind of a weird shape here. We don't have a lot of options. My recommendation is almost 100% of the time you should settle the nearest system that you can reach that's the best. And unfortunately we don't have any options here. If you have multiple regions that you can pick from, obviously take whichever one's better. But always go with the one that you can reach in one turn. So let's go ahead and get this on the road. Let's see what we got here. Apparently I've enabled all the cutscenes, so we'll just let them play. Ocean planets are good for food. Lots of food, that's good. Lots of curiosities, that's also interesting. Boreal with a subterranean, that is almost certainly a strategic. Some more curiosities. Alright, so my opinion of this starting system is it's mediocre at the moment. Depending on what these curiosities turn out to be, it could be significantly better. Let's take a look. We got 2 here. I got 1 here. Let's see how many. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 curiosities. That's actually a really good number to have on your starting system. I'm more likely to settle the ocean than the boreal. 2 reasons why. If we mouse over this, we can see that it's 8 food and 2 industry per population. Over here, we're just going to get a little bit of food. A fair amount, 7, but no industry. So that little bit of industry probably doesn't make a huge difference, but it definitely makes a difference. Red saying, however, and also whatever these anomalies are, could change that. The problem is I don't get to choose beforehand. I have to pick now. So do I take the bird in the hand, or do I take the 2 in the bush? I think it makes the most sense to start here, just because the food in the industry is better. So regardless of what the curiosities turn out to be. Alright, so we got a temperate fertile. That's also really important, and I didn't point that out. This is only fertile, and neither of those. So temperate fertile is really, really good for a starting system. It makes some of our early buildings, like this one, extremely valuable, but most importantly, it makes the industry version of that building extremely valuable. So we'll be rushing that as soon as possible because of the 30 industry it's going to give us. Alright, so we have to edit this ship design here. It's one of the first things that I always end up doing. We got 7 movement and 2 sets of probes. I could actually swap this out and get to 10 movement with 2 sets of probes. I think that's beneficial. The benefit of hull plating at this point in the game is almost nil. So we'll go ahead and do that. Next thing we need to do is look at our hero ship. And we need to get her to 10 movement, which I believe requires those 2 engine slots. In order to make this a little bit cheaper, we can pull pretty much everything off of her ship, including the gun. As long as we have 1 gun, we can still blockade things if we need to. She's not going to be out and about for very long. But with 5 curiosities in our home system, it's almost 100% the best decision to attach her to our fleet. So we got the fairing here. We're going to attach our hero. And this is always how I open my games, with very, very few exceptions. And then once we do that, we're going to pay a little bit of dust and upgrade this ship. And now we're going to go ahead and start searching curiosities. So we'll start with the first 2 that are on our home system. What did we get? Dark glitter. That is not what I was hoping for. And red sang. Okay. I was really hoping for a strategic resource here. Strategics are super important to the Vaulters early. This is probably dark glitter again. Nope, we got titanium, so that's good. Unfortunately, it's on a system we're not in right now. And then we actually have enough to go ahead and grab 1 more. That's actually pretty good. +4 per pop on an ice world that already has a lot of science, so very much a big science world here once we get on it. These 2 worlds are going to have to fill up first. Excuse me. I'm fighting off a little bit of a cold right now. Alright, let's take a look at deciduous trees and dark glitter. Okay. So dark glitter actually isn't the worst pull ever. So if we come over here, we can see that... Oh, I was mistaken. It was a pretty bad pull. I thought one of these was dark glitter. But deciduous trees and potatoes. Super spuds, I believe. Okay. So, option time. What are we going to start with building? Well, let's come back to that in a minute. And I'll go over all the options that I think you could do, and then I'll tell you which one I'm going to do. This is almost certainly what we're going to do, and the entire reason for that is Xeno-Industrial Infrastructure gives us 30 industry the turn we get it up. And that's huge, because if we go here, we can see we're making 60 industry per turn right now. But a huge portion of that is from our colonization bonus that we get for X amount of turns. I think it's like 6 turns. And then that's going to go away. And so if I zoom out here, you can see we've got a golden age for 6 turns. This is providing 25 industry per turn. And in 6 turns, that's going to go away. So if we don't have something to replace it in the next 6 turns, oh, I don't know, like Xeno-Industrial Infrastructure, production's going to crawl to a halt, which is not good for us. So, that's almost certainly going to happen. That's going to be completed in 2 turns. So in 2 turns, before we switch over to that, we got to get something else kind of started here. So we've got these 2 buildings, which are always decent starting buildings. This only takes 3 turns to build and get up. This takes 3 turns to build and get up. And this takes 5 turns to build and get up. One other option we have is we can start working on the colonization of this planet. This is actually worth 20 industry once we get it completed, because it's fertile. And it also allows us to start bringing in titanium and red sang at a higher rate, which has some value. I think the fact that this is 20 industry means that it's Well, I say that. It's 20 industry once Xeno-industrial infrastructure is completed. I think it makes the most sense to do this. Now, there's one other option that I think is really important to consider, and that is we can build a ship. And a ship is going to take 4 turns, which is a lot because we don't have a lot of industry right now. But we do start with a law that might be able to shave a turn off of that, which means we'd only be delaying Xeno-industrial infrastructure by 1 turn. Having an extra scout ship in the early game for the Vaulters is incredibly valuable. And the reason for that is you need to find out where the next place you want to colonize is as soon as possible and start preparing to get there. The more of the map you have uncovered, the more likely you're going to be able to grab locations that are optimal for you with the Vaulters. And you don't want to be colonizing systems when there's other systems very nearby that are better. And that's really hard to know, especially since they've kind of nerfed the way that you can use probes in the very early game. So the best way to counter that nerf is basically get another ship ASAP and get it out there searching. It also allows you to somewhat more quickly transition to military if you need to, because you'll have 2 ships. You can retrofit them. They're not very good military ships, but they're good enough to fight off pirates and scouts in the early game. I think you have to go with this. Now this is interesting. We must have gotten some influence from one of those searches, because a lot of times at the beginning of the game, you can't actually run this on turn 1 anymore. You don't start with influence until after you've rolled a turn, unless you get lucky on your curiosity pulls, which I think we did. We're going to go ahead and get that going. Let's see. It did take 1 turn off of this, so that's good. We're only going to delay Xeno-industrial infrastructure by 1 turn, and the value of this ship, I think, is worth that 1 turn of delay. Alright. I don't know that we have a whole lot else we can do. We're out of movement, right? So we can put them to sleep for a turn. We're waiting for probes. There's some curiosities over here. And then we got 2 of these spots that are not very useful to us. And then we got a lane down this way that's uncovered. Is there anything else I need to do this turn? We've already examined this. Oh, the other reason to use this law early on in the game is because, especially with many times with the Vaulters, it's very difficult to maintain military after your first election. You'll almost always lose the military after your first election. There's just not a lot of activities you can do in the very early game that are military based that don't set you back. And so if you want to take advantage of the lower fleet cost, you have to use it right at the beginning of the game. But if you do, it's worth using. Also, running this law does help provide military, I think, influence in your... So you might be able to if you run this law long enough, but it doesn't usually make sense to do that. There aren't many other ways to get a lot of military influence, though. There's just not a lot to fight. There's not a lot of buildings you can build without delaying more important stuff. Alright, let's go ahead and get going. And this is why we've already leveled up once. Turn 1. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the most important skill that you start with as the Vaulters. This skill is hugely important if you do not have both strategics in your opening system. At the moment, we only have titanium. We do not have Hyperium. In order to get any Hyperium in the early game, this is the way you do it. If you want to accelerate your ability to colonize more quickly and to maybe beat out pirates and to maybe beat out other players at grabbing the best systems nearby, you need to invest 2 points into this as early as possible. So, that being said, we're going to go ahead and do that. I've almost never found a situation where I don't take this first. There have been a few situations where my starting system has both Hyperium and Titanium, in which case I think it's okay if you want to consider starting with this ability to get more food going. But generally speaking, you need to always take this as Volters. It's too good. And even in situations where you have it, there's almost never a situation where you have enough. So I could make the argument that it's still the better choice in the long run. Get that taken care of. We got rich soils over here. So +3 food. That's actually really good on a planet that doesn't have food naturally. Now we have to decide where we're moving. We actually do have quite a bit of our movement left, and also no probes, so I think we're going to go ahead and head down this lane. Oh, that's not good. So this is why getting a second scout ship up and running ASAP is really going to be important, because I can only send out my scout in one direction, and I don't have enough probes. Like, you used to be able to recover probes through repairs, and so you can launch all your probes in a big circle around you, repair for some dust, and then do it again, or use those extra ones to scout all your curiosities. It didn't set you back in time, and it allowed you to uncover a lot of area. Now you have to do it a little bit more manually, and that's probably fair. It was a little bit opportunistic the way that you used to be able to do that, but alright, we are going to finish this before we switch over to Xeno-Industrial Infrastructure, but so we got that completed. Now the question is, what is the next most important thing that we get? Well, there are a lot of opinions on what the best early techs are. I like so many of them. So let's talk about this tech for a moment, because I think it's an underappreciated tech that I think you can get a lot of value out if you rush it. One of the things that it does is it provides probes that are extremely fast at replenishing. And so your scout ships, if you can retrofit them early enough, become very, very good. If you remember to launch probes basically every turn, because they replenish instantly. The problem is, a lot of times you delay this so long that by the time you get it, it becomes irrelevant. And so I think the earlier you can grab it, the more benefit you can get out of it. We're going to be building Xeno-Industrial Infrastructure for the next little bit. And so a lot of these ones that have other buildings are not going to be very useful, because I can't get the buildings down fast enough. Galactic Commodities has some value in that it opens up trade, which is important. Military techs, I think, are irrelevant in the early game. Especially the early game like we are now. This is actually a really good technology, especially if you have lots of planets that are hot and cold, or if you're lacking a lot of food and you need food for growth. But this building in particular is a wonder style building. It's a unique improvement. There's some quest lines that involve unique improvements, and it's actually the cheapest unique improvement that you can build. So it's one of the fastest ones to get up, even though it is fairly expensive for this point in the game. And if you put it in a system with the most number of planets, and also a system that you plan on upgrading, you can get a lot out of it. It's +3 per original Empire population, so this is really, really valuable in a system that has the potential for very, very large populations. It can also be valuable in systems that have no food at all and allow them to grow at a reasonable rate. So if you find a system that's like completely lava planets, but you want to colonize it because there's some cool strategics on it, this is a way to actually get growth accelerated on that system if you can get it down early. If you find minor civs, this is mandatory. Need this technology to engage in diplomacy. I think the most valuable thing that I can actually research is this. It's only going to take 2 turns to get it. Keep in mind, this chain is not a mandatory link. What this is a discount. If you have the previous portions of the chain, then the future ones are discounted. And the fact that we're getting bonus science right now from our Golden Age means we can get this research really fast and hopefully take advantage of it. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I have 1 probe. I am going to go ahead and send it down one of these 2 lanes. And then we're going to go ahead and travel down the other one. That's fine. Let's take a look at this system now that we have eyes on it. Lava planets I'm kind of torn about. They're decent. Ash planet with a lot of curiosities. That's actually good, because that's what we're searching for right now for the XP. Mediterranean planets are kind of meh. They're not terrible. This definitely has some potential as a future system that we're going to want to grab. There are 4 very reasonable planets here, and a lot of curiosities, which could make them very beneficial to us. We'll see what it looks like once we get them all uncovered here in a few turns. And we are 1 turn away from completing this. However, we want to go ahead and get this in the queue as soon as possible. And then the other thing that we want to do is we want to switch from our current law, which is helping reduce the build time of this ship, to the law that reduces the build time for regular system improvements. And then after that, probably this needs to be queued up because we want to start collecting that titanium, but also we want the 20 industry that the planet and the fertile bonus are going to give us after this gets built. You can almost never go wrong focusing industry in the early game. Alright, anything else that needs to change? We're going to get this in 2 turns. Our ship's going to be done in 1 turn. I might actually leave our ship here or throw out some probes, but stay in orbit here so that we can retrofit that ship right away. Because we do have a small stockpile of titanium. And that's going to be way beneficial, as you'll see in a moment, for scouting. Alright, we're not generating probes very fast right now, which kind of sucks with this ship. But we'll get what we can. We want to avoid uncovering atmospherics in the early game, just because there's a quest that triggers in the early mid-game where scouting those becomes valuable. And so if you uncover them all right away, a lot of times you miss out on that quest. Subterraneans are almost always the most important ones for vaulters to grab. So we're going to scout that and see what we get. And we got nothing. Man, that sucks. That's a really bad pull. XP on ship is pretty worthless. We really wanted to see something like Jade Onyx, which is a common pull for subterraneans, or one of the two tier 1 strategics. That means there's no more strategics in this system likely. That's really bad. That makes this system a lot worse than it was a moment ago. Alright, so we've got this ship. We can go ahead and pop it out of the hangar real quick. And we got 4 probes that we can launch. I'm going to launch them in this direction. And try to get 3. And then this one, I can launch down one of these 2 lanes. I think I'm going to launch it down this way. And whenever we finish scouting all of these curiosities, we'll probably head down this lane. We'll know what it's down there because of this probe, so we may or may not need to. But there's no need for me to send this probe this direction because we already have one going there. So hopefully we'll uncover something down that way. And we're going to wait 1 turn, and then we're going to retrofit this ship once this is completed. So since that's about to be completed, we need to go ahead and pick our next technology that's going to be of maximum benefit in the minimum amount of time that we have. We're 5 or so turns away from completing Xeno Industrial Infrastructure. This is also the turn we need to change our law. So while I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and get that done. Abolish that law. Let's get Dirty Hands Act passed, and then let's take a look here. So we're 5 turns away from Xeno Industrial Infrastructure being completed. So 5 turns. What do I need to be able to do in 5 turns? Well, advancing curiosities and getting basic full drives, which allows us to move between things, could be helpful. But just uncovering more curiosities is probably the most beneficial thing right now, since none of these buildings are going to be particularly beneficial. Getting this is kind of useful, but not really. We haven't uncovered any Hyperium, so that has little use to us. I think basic full drives it is, and then we can always move things around if we need to. But scouting, again, super important for this faction. Always important for all factions, but more so for the Vaulters than others. Alright, we have some movement available to us. I think we are just going to skip our turn there and skip our turn there. I'm not going to use that movement. And end the turn. Alright, our Golden Age is getting close to ending now. We've only got 2 more turns of it. What's going to happen that's very, very frustrating for a Vaulter player if you're not paying attention is your Golden Age ends in 2 turns and all of your timers kind of reset. So like right now, the pace at which we're researching stuff is very fast, but a big part of the reason that it's very fast is because we're getting 25 extra science per turn right now. We're also getting 25 extra dust per turn right now. We're getting 25 extra food per turn right now, and 25 extra industry. When this Golden Age ends, all of that goes away, and so the timers for how long something takes to research, how long something gets taken to build, extend significantly. And you can see right now, we're looking at 4 turns to get our Xeno Industrial Infrastructure up. That is not going to happen, because in 2 turns, we're going to lose 25 industry per turn, which means it's probably going to take more like 5 or 6 turns to get this finished. So keep that in mind when you're playing Vaulters. Just know that your first Golden Age is going to be really short. The future ones can be longer, but they only apply to the system for the most part that you're establishing, not all of them. Alright, we already set that up, so we know that. First opportunity to grab a quest line. This is a little bit more difficult choice than normal. So, excuse me, goodness. 75 Hyperion is really valuable to me right now because we don't have Hyperion production available to us at this point that we know of anyways. We do have titanium production, so getting a stockpile of this with the titanium has value. Also, one of our two factions likes potatoes. That could be useful. This is also the easier of the two to get because building defensive improvements in the early game feels really bad. And it slows down a lot of your other potential. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the potatoes just because it's easier quest and we can use them. A lot of times this is not useful, at least as a booster. It is useful for negotiating trade deals and for selling for dust once you get the market unlocked, but we'll go ahead and take that one. Alright, so the Argosy is ready. We need to come over here and we need to edit our ship design. And I have some options now, so I'm not sure 100% how I want to do this. Let's pull off all of these and show you what our options are. So one of the options that I have is I can go very military oriented and I can put like 2 weapons and a defensive module and a really good probe. This gives me 2 probes every turn essentially, and an engine. So not quite the movement speed we had before, but more capabilities overall. We could also go for something that's a little bit faster. Or we could go for something with a lot more probes. And that's really fast. And I'm not 100% sure which one of these I want to go with. Or we could go something like that. The Vulture ships are very flexible in that a lot of their slots have a lot of opportunity to use different types of modules. So you got a lot of options. I think I want to go with more probes. Let's go with that. Now we're not going to get those probes right away. Do we have any probes? We got 1. It's probably worth throwing out. Where are we going to throw it? It's not going to be able to reach that far. I'd say we just throw it out into space and see if we hit something. And then we can go ahead and get... Oh, did I not? Ah, I didn't. Alright, I goofed. The Argosy. When we get better engines, it's a good idea to come in here and upgrade these engines. Until we get better engines, there's not much you can do here. I made a little boo-boo. We're going to lose a turn of scouting because of that, but it's not that big a deal. And actually I have a different plan for this ship now that we're going to go back anyways. We'll see how that turns out. We do get a probe over here, so we're going to go and grab another one of these. Again, we'll avoid the atmospherics for as long as we can. It's unlikely to matter, but... Found some Transvine. Alright. The Argosy is a great scout ship in the early game. We have to be a little bit careful with it because pirates can damage it and destroy it, and that really sets you back. With these probes heading this direction to uncover that, I think what we're going to do is send the Argosy this way because it's got such a good movement. and see if we can't scout what's down this lane and then head back before we need to settle with it. So it's going to be quite a few turns before we're ready to settle any other colonies. And I think that's it. Let's go ahead and pull a U-turn there. Got more Vaulters. And we should have a probes. So we're going to get one per turn. I think, yeah, we got one more. Non-atmospheric, so we'll take that one. And we'll wait another turn. She's getting close to leveling up again already. Not quite there yet. You can see this is taking more turns than we thought it would, because our golden age is now over. You can see the little golden age symbol's gone. Alright, so we did uncover these guys. And we can make first contact for free. They're scientists, so that's not bad for us. Plus 40 science per strategic deposit. That's actually really good for us too. Okay. This is about to complete, and the discovery of this pretty much makes this our next technology by default, because we need to engage in some diplomacy with these guys, start putting our influence to use. Alright, we can go ahead and upgrade that ship now. We're going to send her over here. Now I've got 2 probes I can launch. I'm going to go ahead and kind of launch them in between these two, just so we get more area uncovered. And the reason I'm going to launch those is because we basically get them back instantly. So go ahead and queue up movement now. Go ahead and search another one of these. So now all we have left are atmospherics. We'll just grab that one. And we'll get the other one next. That's actually a pretty decent anomaly pull. And we went ahead and we hit our next level. So we'll put that second point in there. And this is really, really good because it's going to generate one of each per turn. Now, looking at her, she's still locked out for 2 more turns. So we'll have 1 more turn, get another curiosity, and then she'll probably take off. Got a bunch of stuff down here we could scout. Let's take a look at this system real quick. I'm not finding anything that's really standing out as super exciting. The most exciting thing about this system is subterranean curiosity. Means maybe we find our Hyperium deposit we're really in need of. The rest of these planets are pretty mediocre. Huge planets have benefit late game, but in early game they tend to be pretty garbage if they're like a desert planet. A huge desert planet, not great. Not terrible, but not great. But if you can get these things terraformed into better types of planets, population count on them is really, really big, and that can add a lot of value. Alright, so we made it all the way to Pavo. One of the things that's interesting about the Argosy is it has a larger than normal, you can kind of see this, the shape of the vision is really, really big. And so a lot of times you can actually uncover lots of these little systems that are not necessarily attached, but are just really close to a constellation. We're going to go ahead and keep moving down this lane. And we're going to wait one more turn, we said. And that's it for this turn. Oh, that's right. We have a hacking opportunity. So, let's go ahead and start a hack. Go ahead and get that going to them. And then while we're at it, we can go ahead and encrypt. There's not a lot of value to that, but there's no reason not to do it. Because, why not? We have nothing else to do with our bandwidth. Let's get all of our ships moving. Right, so this is one of the early curiosities, early quests that pop up. This is basically just a quest to unlock Behemoth Tech, and we can see that there have already been 6 military researches by the other players. Some of those may be early ones that they started with. We're not going to participate in much of this early game. But, actually, Jadonix is really, really powerful reward. This would be one of the few times I would consider it. The problem is the AI is much more interested in military technology than I typically am as a human player, and so it's going to be very hard to compete. Even to get 30 Jadonix would be difficult. So we'll skip it. Alright, we're going to get the last curiosity in this system. We've actually uncovered some new ones because of our technology choices. So we got a life form, an atmospheric, and a ruins. Let's go ahead and grab the ruins. Improved plating. Titanium module. Better defenses than normal early game modules, and it uses titanium, which we have access to. So that's actually a pretty decent pull for us. Not sure we'll get a lot of value out of it, but at least we can use it. So it's better than 0 value. Alright, we'll wait one more turn. She's still stuck here for one more turn anyways. And then anything else? Off-world agribusiness is already queued up. I think that's good. So we've uncovered all this with probes. We don't need to send a ship up there other than to grab curiosities, which we will be doing. And all the way over here, we have discovered some more subterranean. This is the system we are looking for. 3 subterraneans. That's actually really good. Unfortunately, somebody's already started to colonize it. Looks like the yellow player. I'm not sure who the yellow player is yet. We'll find out soon. Almost looks like that could be the Academy's color. This constellation is looking pretty large, so that second scout ship is looking like a good investment. Alright, we're going to do some shenanigans here. We're going to merge these ships together. That's going to give us 5 probes. I'm going to scout both of these quickly. Stem City and the Ancient Ruins. Ancient Ruins is 4 dust per turn, or per population. Which one was that on? That was on the Mediterranean, so that's actually pretty good. Yeah, that's very good actually. Really good returns on that Mediterranean planet now. With the good anomalies that we pulled in Curiosities. So if we were to colonize this system, this is probably where we do so. If we mouse over this, we can see the cost of colonization. And this is why I keep talking about strategics. Strategic cost is pretty high right now when we have 0 income. But that's about to change. How many Curiosities do I have over here? 3. And it's going to take me probably 2 turns. I don't want to wait that long. I want to start collecting strategics right now. So we're going to move her over here. And what this is going to do, if I can click the right button, is not much. You can see she's not getting much right now for us. But the one thing that's not showing up here is we're going to start collecting 1 of each of these every turn. Because she's a senator, not a senator, but because we leveled her up on those 2 skills. So, because of this, and now that she's in a system, she's actually, if assigned on system, creating +1 of each of our main strategics that we need. And that's going to give us the ability to colonize the Argosy in fewer than the maximum number of turns required. So right now it's 15 turns till a free colonization. Or no, that's the Golden Age. We'll look at the... Yeah, this is... I think this is the Academy. An Academy system. Okay, so looking at our options right now, it's really hard to decide where to pull the Argosy back to. I have one potentially decent system here, but nothing that looks super fantastic. And that's where these 2 ships are going to come in really handy. So now that we've done all of the scouting that we need to do, we need to figure out which one is which. So this one has 4 probes, and this one has 4 probes. Okay, Farian 3. So this is the one that has the upgraded. So we need to split this guy off. And we need to send him back to here. And then we need to take this ship and head this direction. Because we need to figure out what's down this way as quickly as possible. Now, the other option I have is I can take a risk and I can head down this lane and uncover maybe one more system with the Argosy. But if I don't find something really amazing, that doesn't look very amazing. Two ash and a savannah. Yeah, not amazing at all. Dark glitter, not amazing at all. So now we're getting into a situation where we are really going to struggle if we don't find a better system to colonize. We may just have to take Octanes as our second colony, which is not terrible. It's a decent system. But we really want to find something amazing, because that's what the Vultures are really good at, is picking off the best systems quickly, basically outracing you to all the really, really good, rich systems. Particularly ones that have endless planets. Those are really valuable for vaulters. Alright, what else can we do this turn? Anything that we need to consider doing? Our law is probably fine. Our scan or our hacking is probably fine. Turn 10 it is. Alright. We need to start using our probes every turn now. Ah, we just found our new favorite planet. So this system is hugely valuable to us because we have an average deposit of both of our key strategics. Also, there's a lot of curiosities here that we're about to uncover very rapidly. So that's more titanium. Just a load of it, though. Mono hull plating and a battle tactic. Alright, so we're going to wait one turn. We're going to get all of our probes back. I can launch this probe real quick. Oh, hold on a second. We actually have a curiosity we've uncovered. Let's get to the right screen here. And it's on our home system. That's even better. And it is plus 50% experience gains on governors. I haven't seen this one maybe in a long time. It's a unique improvement. Let's take a look at the cost. That's a lot of turns. That's a pretty expensive improvement. However, 50% experience gains is... That's a lot. That's pretty darn good. We're definitely not going to build it right now, but wherever our main hero ends up, in a long-term situation, we're probably going to build that for her. Stim City is just luxury approval bonuses. So the next thing that we need to build in this system is probably drone network, just so we can continue to roll food and industry quickly. And then we're getting awful low on dust. We're going to need to get cerebral reality up next, and then probably public-private partnerships. So we'll just go with those three for now. But you can see how quickly we're able to clear all those curiosities with these new probes. And that's why I invested that early time in researching a technology that most people kind of just look over, because it doesn't appear to be that great. So we need to get you back here ASAP. We can make that in 8 turns. If we just fly straight through space. Now the problem is, if I do that and I find something even better, that could be... we're locked into that move. But I think we're going to go ahead and do it. And this was one of the other reasons why grabbing the space travel was important, because it does allow us opportunities like this to bypass the extended travel through the star lanes when it makes sense to do so. Alright, this ship needs to be retrofit, and it doesn't have any probes, and it probably doesn't have any movement, but the next thing we want to do is send it up here and scout these, and right before we do that, we're going to want to come here and use some influence, but we'll do that the turn right before. We don't have well, we do have a fair amount of influence, but we can't do that until this gets completed, which is why we're researching it. So everything is going according to plan. Anything else we need to do? I don't think so. Alright. So we just got 20 more industry per turn in our main system, which is great. Off-world agribusiness is about to be completed. You can see that we're grabbing Hyperium even though we don't have a Hyperium deposit. And we're able to do that like before turn 10, basically on turn 10. We put her back on turn 9, turn 10 we rolled our first Hyperium. In 8 turns, the Argosy is going to make it over here, and we should be able to colonize pretty much the turn we get there, if we're lucky. Let's go ahead and get all of our ships moving wherever they need to move. And then this ship has 4 more probes already ready to roll. So there's one. And we're going to jump over... I guess we'll just head down this way. Let's actually shoot one down like that. And try to catch whatever's on that. And then we'll just use the rest of our movement to get down here. Alright, so Vision Bubble managed to snag this system. Let's take a peek at Ying. Atolls are really, really good planets for the early game. Gas planets are mediocre. Terrible for the early game. And a Tundra. Tundras are not great either. Barons are bad early game planets. Not even good late game planets, really. Atmospheric Curiosity, Life Form. Interesting system, not part of our constellation, even though it's close to it. 4 planets is never terrible, but 2 bad planets and 2 decent planets does not a system make. So we'll see. We'll probably scout those curiosities just to make sure there's nothing really good there. This is a 5 planet system. None of them are ones we can colonize right away, but we should take a look at what it is. So we've got a lava. This is looking like it's going to be a high industry planet. Or a high industry system. Yeah, lots of industry you can see. Except for this one. So, again, a bunch of mediocre planets. 5 of them, but not any ones that are really, really great. Got some curiosities that are pretty interesting here. 2 subterraneans, that could be good for us. And make that system maybe worthwhile. In the early game, the most important thing to focus is strategics. Any system that has strategics, especially ones that you're in need of, becomes more valuable as a vaulter. It's kind of true with all the other factions, but with vaulters it's like to the 10th degree. Alright, we got all 4 of our probes back. Every single turn they're going to refresh. Life pods. Yeah, that sucked. An amoeba population. I like the amoeba population. The amoeba were one of my favorite factions from the original game. I'm glad they made it into this game. I wish they were more of a primary faction, but they're really cool. Think friendly Metroids. Alright, time to pick a new technology. We'll do that in a minute. Let's see, we got some more population growth going on. That's decent. We'll take the free technology in 10 turns. Oh, they've changed this a little bit. So we lose science for 10 turns. And then in 20 turns we get a free technology. Still worth doing. think you should always pretty much do that. I've got one probe I could launch. I could launch it down here, but I'm probably faster than the probe will be, so let's just launch it out one of these odd directions and see if we get lucky with a hit. And then we'll queue up his movement. And we did... Oh, you've got to be freaking kidding me. So anytime after about turn 10, pirates can spawn on a random system, and they happen to spawn on the system that we have our ship inbound to. This is probably the worst thing that could have happened. It's really bad because pirate ships will start spawning here, they'll start roaming here, and there's a very good chance that they're going to intercept both our population that's trying to head back to our main system and the Argosy. If they happen to do that, that could be problematic. So now we're going to have to come up with a fallback. That fallback may be Octans, unless the system is really, really good, because none of these other ones look fantastic. Yep. And there's very few situations where you're ever going to be able to outpace the pirates with the Vultures as your second colony. Your second colony is just not going to go down faster than pirates spawn. So you're almost always going to deal with the risk of whatever system you like being snagged prematurely. Alright, we did need to grab a new technology. So now's the situation where maybe we start looking at galactic commodities. The food tech is also pretty useful, and we're getting close to the point where we could benefit from building the food tech building. There's another technology over here that is unique to Vultures. It's only available to Vultures. It's on this X atmospheric filtration point. It's the same one that gives you luxury lottery and ash colonization. But this is another way to potentially enhance your output of titanium and hyperium in a situation where you don't have access to them. And right now our big bottleneck is going to be hyperium, because the one source we've uncovered was snagged by the pirates. So this could have some potential. Now the one downside to this is it is a unique building, which is actually good, but unique buildings have very high industry costs, which is bad. An alternative to that would be the Miners Union, which if you have a site with titanium and hyperium, this has a lot of value because it's going to pull 2 extra resources per turn. If you don't have both, this has less value, but it's still valuable as a building. This is really a super important technology that we need to grab. I don't know if we really need to grab it next, but I don't know really what we do need to grab. Arid isn't that important. Yeah. I guess the other one that's kind of beneficial right now might be spin projects. It's one of the few ways as a Vaulter that you can enhance your influence output, and because our population has grown a fair amount, influence output will be a little bit better than it would have been at the very early game. I don't find specializations to be very useful until much later when you can basically do them for free. But influence is the one exception to that rule. Influence is always bottlenecked by your early laws. You can see we're down to 2 influence per turn just because our population's growing, so laws cost more. This allows us to run laws a lot easier. So maybe we go ahead and, what's the turn? Yeah, 7. Same either way. Let's do that one. Alright, so we made it over here. We now have the ability to do praise. So we're going to spend a bunch of resources on praise, and then, in addition to that, we'll skip through all that. We're going to uncover all their curiosities. Alright. Getting these guys just became way more important because they actually have the 2 resources that we need in their system on a planet that we can colonize quickly. Let's go ahead and check out what we found. So we got some science and another really positive anomaly. We've already found that one elsewhere. We got a remnant population, which, not the worst thing ever. We got some more red sang, and we got hosed on one of our polls for XP. So drone networks is done. Cerebral reality will be done in a turn. And we don't have any movement. And we don't have any other things we can do, so we'll just queue up our movement over to here. We did uncover this with the probe, so I did get a lucky hit out here. Let's take a look at Quirus and see what it looks like. That's a really cool anomaly. I like the way that looks. That's a dust one. Dust ruins, yeah. Ancient ruins. And so a life form and a subterranean. Again, 2 really bad planets, 2 mediocre planets, not part of our constellation, not looking good as a potential selection for us. So we'll just zoom over here and grab these curiosities, and then maybe zoom over there and grab that one. Alright, we got 4 more probes. Lots of hot planets. Tons of hot planets we've been getting. So this is one of those systems I was talking about where that one food building might come in handy if we wanted to colonize it. There's just not a lot of food here. A little bit on the Mediterranean planet, but not a ton. The food per population and the food per system development makes this potentially able to fill all of these planets with people, whereas if you settled this without special food buildings, it'd be very difficult to do. Right, we did find a titanium deposit here. Still no Hyperium deposits out in the wild. And so now this is where these become very valuable, in that you just start sending them off in different directions and uncover more of the map. I actually do have the opportunity to fly over here and grab those, so we'll go check that out real quick. This pirate ship is moving away from this site, which is good. Hopefully he's not back before the Argosy gets there. Alright, what else? Anything? So there's only, it looks like one more system over here, although it could continue down this lane some. But there's definitely at least one more point that we missed. So we'll want to send one of our ships over that way. This guy can probably head over that way next. Once he uncovers these, which... got some acid rain, that sucks. On an already not so fun planet to live on. Negative anomalies are pretty bad things to come across. More loot. Alright, that's a good anomaly. And that's a mixed anomaly. That one's mostly bad. So this is not looking like a really great system for us either. We're going to go ahead and maybe send him over this way. I guess we could go here first. There's curiosities there we could grab. Got one probe. Do I not have any movement left? I do not have any movement left. So we might as well send this off somewhere, right? Just throw that out there. Get all of our ships moving. Alright, we have 4 probes we can launch. Or we could get halfway there, but we might as well just launch our probes. It's going to take us 4 turns anyways. Or 1 turn to get over there anyways, and we'll get all of our probes back. Which direction do I want to send them, though? Maybe we'll just send them out this way. So we'll just kind of uncover the... Start with that. Something like that. That ought to be good. And then we'll queue that up. I guess that's a little longer than I thought. Oh well. Alright, so we're moving up in relations with these guys pretty quickly because of all the praising and whatnot that we've done. So hopefully we'll be able to get these guys quickly. This ship is ready to move down this way now. And that's about it for that turn. Alright, so this is the atmospheric quest that I was talking about. You can see it takes a while for it to trigger sometimes. I think it rarely triggers before turn like 12, if ever. Maybe it's like 10 or 11 or 12 where the earliest it does can trigger. There is a possibility that it does not trigger because somebody can discover the academy prior to it triggering. The rewards are mediocre most of the time, but Hyperium is a need for us. So this actually has more value than normal. So if we see any atmospheric curiosities from here on out, we're going to want to grab them. I think one of these is atmospheric, right? Hopefully. Yeah, we got at least 1 atmospheric there, so that's good. Alright, free colonization is available. This is not what we wanted. This is exactly not what we wanted here. We're going to retreat. And that means I don't have any control over where my ship just went. And it went the wrong direction. Of course it did. Alright, so we're having some bad luck. And we made maybe some poor choices too. Maybe a little bit of both. We have spin projects now, so we can go ahead and get that in the queue, which will fix a little bit of our influence problem. Also, we're happy. 10 approval will put us above 80. I can't remember. I think it's 85 or better to move to the next tier, so that's probably not worthwhile. This is actually worth 15, but it's going to take 5 turns. 15 would be enough to put us above and into the ecstatic category, which I think we should probably do. So now's the time where we really need to start working on some other building technologies. So something that we could get relatively quickly would definitely be this in 3 turns. Still don't need Hyperium yet. Galactic Commodities is not as important as it once was. The approval from this actually has some value. The ability to colonize snow, not so much. And the fleet accelerator, not so much right now. So I'm kind of leaning towards this technology here. But I think the food one's probably worthwhile. I think we get this now. We're going to get to pour 1 turn into something once this gets completed, before we switch over to food. Let's go ahead and throw that in the queue and just shave a turn off of it, because I think we're going to end up building it eventually. Alright, so we made it over here with 4 brand new probes. Get all those uncovered. Plasma beams. A good anomaly. That's actually -2 science? I didn't think Aurora Waves was a negative or a mixed. It's been a while since I've seen him. Aha! Hyperium. Okay, so this is a average deposit of Hyperium. The Argosy's in such a bad place here. I could get there in 3 turns. Yeah, we're gonna have to do that. Alright, let's try to get there in 3 turns and start collecting our Hyperium. This is not a great system. It is a 5-planet system, though. And it does have Hyperium on the Mediterranean planet that we want to colonize. Perfect. So now, planetary landscaping needs to get done in 3 turns, but actually, this is going to move ahead of it, because as soon as we colonize, we want to start collecting Hyperium, so I need that done first. So we'll just switch those around real quick. And now this scout ship has more scouting to do. Where? Anywhere over here? I guess Ying is probably the closest thing that we can get to that requires scouting at this point. 4 turns to get to Ying. I might as well. I don't have anything better to go to. So the yellow player is over here. This is definitely the Academy player. This is that cream color. which means that this is probably the home system of the yellow player, but maybe not. It could extend a little bit further over there. This is a pretty lengthy constellation so far. I'm trying to figure out how many systems are in it. We're definitely behind. The whole point of getting this going was so that we could colonize early. I think we made a little bit of a mistake, probably went too far, should have started coming back a little sooner, and we probably wouldn't have gotten caught by this. But sometimes you gotta make calls, and sometimes they go poorly. Alright, we'll make, see if this guy stops here, that could be problematic. Because if he catches us again, then our ship's almost destroyed, and we might go back the other direction instead of this way. It's just bad. Lots of bad things are going on. Alright, what else do we got? Anything of import that I need to be aware of? I guess we could go look at this again. We could pay to do some assisting, but I think we're probably just going to wait, because this is going to be filled up in like 4 turns. And then we can just buy them out with influence, hopefully. The cost of that influence increases with each colonization. Okay, we missed an engagement with him, so that's good.
We rise and look to our future. The Nakalim are eager to rule the galaxy once again.
Alright, so the Nakalim are a problem. They're one of the more powerful early game factions, just because they start with so much crap. Alright, so we got 10 on fertile, which we have 2 fertile systems, so that's 20 food, plus 10 for the system itself, that's 30 food, versus like 5 and 5. And these are not very useful at all. So yeah, 30 food per turn is probably the better choice. Now if we actually go here and look at this, you can see that 30 food is actually accurately being measured here. And the reason that it's 30 is because we have fertile, and then the system gets 10 food as a whole. So that was good. We'll see growth increase a little bit from our main system. Spin projects are done, so now you can see our influence is up a little bit more. Not a lot, but a little bit. Alright, and we're like 1 turn away from being able to colonize here. Alright, so we can grab all of these. Dark glitter, and titanium. Some people don't like to grab curiosities on systems that are owned by other factions. I don't mind doing it. You'll almost always get some benefit out of it, so we got some loads that we could sell off. Sometimes you get stuff and they get nothing. Other times they get negative things. And even when they get good stuff and you don't, they're generally going to get it uncovered anyways. But the faster they get it uncovered by you, you at least get the XP for it. And you usually get something else. Also, now these guys can trade these commodities to the market, and that can have an impact on your ability to buy it in the future. So that has value too. We got 1 probe left. I think I'm going to throw the probe this way and then send him that way. And I forgot to stop at Pavo and get that, although we may have uncovered the ability to seek it after the fact. Alright, so I have a weird decision to make here. This is not something I would normally do. So in 2 turns, I'm going to be able to pay influence to assimilate these guys. The cost of that is going to be more expensive if I colonize this first. I could colonize this right now. Is it worth delaying to get 2 systems up right away? Because like if I colonize this right now, the cost of influence to get this done is going to be way higher, and it's probably going to be so much that I can't afford it. Ram scoops are always the better choice. I've still yet to figure out what in the hell the probe thing. I can't think of any situation where it's useful. Like 0. That's bad. Pirates are probably going to destroy us. I don't think we can retreat. Yeah, there's no escape routes on these systems, so we just fight. And die. That's unfortunate, but luckily for us, we uncovered all of the curiosities on this end of the galaxy, so not the end of the world. Alright, we have... Man. Alright. I guess we'll put the support behind ecologists? I'd rather have ecologists than the religious party, I think. I'm curious how so much religious political influence has occurred. Well, that's good. Green fertility bill is relatively useful. I don't know if we end up using it. Alright, so we're taking a risk here. Successfully hacked. Improve image. I'm gonna do that. I guess that wasn't really useful because we would have hit it anyways. Probably should have done the other one. Alright, objective achieved. We actually got the 30 load of Hyperium, which is awesome for us. Reduce the health, that's fine. New technology. Let's get the galactic commodity. We need that. And we did get this uncovered, and we did discover that it is indeed more territory to uncover. More pirates. At least this time we have the ability to retreat. And actually they didn't attack us right away, surprisingly, so... Maybe that's because they're invading? I don't know. That was weird. We're gonna get away. Either way. Alright, so next turn I have the ability to do this, and then we're gonna end this video. Ah, yes. Hacking operations. Well... I I guess we'll hack the pirates, because I don't have anything better to do. I am going to wait one more turn for this, just so we can try and get this done. Alright, so this is only going to cost me 100 instead of 200. I got that done. And then now I colonize this. Got that done. So we got two systems at the same time. Significantly delayed our second system. Second system by turn 22 is just unacceptable in most games. Because we don't have the fertile temperate systems in this, drone networks is going to be the most important building that we get down. And then cerebral reality, and then probably Xeno. And we'll figure it out from there. Alright, so that was an interesting start to the game. 20 turns, you guys got to see how I introduced my strategies onto the game and how they worked out. Some of them worked out good, some of them didn't. But this is how I like to play the Vultures. Hopefully it's beneficial to you. Again, this will probably be a one-off. I don't know that I'll be picking this game up, but I might if I get a lot of views on this particular video, assuming that I go ahead and put it up on the channel. I haven't put up anything in a while. I've just been dealing with a lot of life stuff again, and so taking a break from more serious gaming. But I do see people watching my stuff, and I do appreciate when people give me comments. So if you're going back and watching some of my videos and you're enjoying them, thanks for the kind words, and appreciate you guys. You guys have a great night, and I'll catch you in the next one.